All right, well, welcome. My name is John Mazzara with Remax Results, and today I have Casi Holmberg, and she's with Title Smart, and she is an executive closer with Title Smart. And I'll let her introduce herself, and then we're going to have a dialogue about the purpose of title insurance, closings in general, and things that might be, interesting regarding title and closings. Casi, could you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, John. Casi Holmberg with Title Smart. I've been a title closer for approximately 21 years and love what I do and excited to work with John here and getting some information out.
Excellent, thank you. Casi and I met during the foreclosure crisis, and she is absolutely incredible. She knows everything about everything, has probably seen it. I don't know that she's ever been able to be stumped. So we're going to talk just generally first, and then we'll maybe go into some of the more esoteric. So, Casi, if somebody buys a property and they're going through the mortgage process, one of the things that they're going to have to do is get a closer and a title company, and that's always the buyer's choice. And why would they select Title Smart and yourself as a closer? And can you explain what would happen from the time that they would maybe make their application and indicate to their lender that they would like to use you?
Okay. Yeah, the buyer always has that opportunity to choose. What I like about Title Smart and myself personally is each of us are self-employed. So as a self-employed contract, we use Title Smart, who's got a fantastic production staff and support staff who they do all of our title searches, they do all of our title examinations, provide us with closing rooms and those services, as well as assistance to help us process all of the paperwork and answer any questions for our clients. Title Smart has been around for just over 10 years as well. They have been thriving in not only the hard markets, but the strong markets as well. So we've seen all sorts of different things, like you said, from that foreclosure and short sale type of a transaction through this current new refinance boom and just fantastic housing market.
Yeah. And Title Smart, they're a women-owned business, right? They're WeBank certified, which is
That
kind
is
of unique.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Cindy and her sister, Angela, are very proud of that as well.
Excellent. And that's, I think, really unique and special. And of course, we want to try to help everybody succeed, and women-owned business is fantastic. Now, going through the order, so let's say they said, you know what, I met this gal online. Her name is Casi, and Title Smart is, I think, who we should use. What would they need to tell their mortgage person with regards to placing an order with you?
That part is super simple. They provide their loan officer my name, phone number, and/or email address. They can simply send us an email or a fax with that information order, and we will get things processing. We start things by just having our production staff open up a file and send out an informational sheet to our clients, whether they be a refinance borrower, the buyer, or the seller, and to gather and collect information so we can start processing the file a little bit deeper.
Okay, and when you do the title search, what exactly does that mean? What will a buyer get, or why is that even important?
It's super important. The counties currently, which is great, keep and maintain records of all of the transactions in regards to the property. This stems from the time that they started title, so it could be 100 years old. Used to process with what we called an abstract. So some of you may remember they've got that thick booklet that had all of the history of the property, the transfers, any mortgages or liens that were outstanding. That is now transferred all online within the counties. So we hire a third-party company to what we call abstract, and they do a 30-year search on the home, making sure that all of those items that have been transferred properly. Any mortgages have been paid in full, and then at the time that they've been paid in full, also been satisfied at the county levels as well. So it gives us a history and a story of that property to make sure that the title is going to be what we call clear to transfer from the current seller to the current buyer.
Awesome. Now, one time, this was my own little personal story, but I had bought some tax forfeited land from the state of Minnesota, and the state of Minnesota had not given proper notice to when they foreclosed basically on the property and took it back for forfeiture. They didn't give the IRS 90 days, and everyone else in the state gets 60. And it was only through a quiet title procedure that I was told that I was now going to have to pay this other person's tax lien, which ultimately after 2 years of back and forth, we ended up making a settlement. But uh, I had brought that to a different title company who told me that I could clear that. So I was given bad information. And that's where I don't use that title company anymore. I use people that are knowledgeable and competent. So without naming that other company, that was about a $15,000 oops. Can you explain what a quiet title is? Like, let's say somebody buys a property that's kind of messy. Maybe it was foreclosed. Maybe it had a short sale. Maybe there was a divorce. Maybe there was all sorts of different things that are all on the title. And what is a quiet title, and how does that involve a title company?
So the quiet title is similar to a proceeding subsequent. So the one would be handled typically through the property located in an abstract, where the proceeding subsequent would be handled through the legal process on a Torrens situated property. If there are items that were not properly handled that are legal matters, and there's no way to just document and record, it brings it to a court hearing. And so the judge at either the quiet title or the proceeding subsequent would gather all of the information and research that we can provide to them, and they would legally be able to clear that item. So I currently have a scenario very similar to yours. Is a gentleman had purchased the property during a foreclosure directly from the foreclosing bank's attorney's office. They issued him what's called a certificate of redemption, which is kind of like a satisfaction, but it says the fact that they've obtained the financing substantial and agreed upon to clear that property and to transfer the ownership. However, it doesn't clearly transfer that ownership until that's recorded at the county. And we've been kind of going back and forth. That document is not findable. He is going to have to get a proceeding subsequent to officially transfer that property, whether he actually purchased this 12 years ago, to move forward to sell his property. His current thought was, well, I'm going to bring it to this other title company because they will do it. I said, you may certainly bring that to them, but your buyer is going to continue to have a glitch in that property if they forward that on. And I recommended that to my real estate agent as well. I said, your buyer can certainly go ahead and do that. We do not recommend that because they will continue to have that title error, and the cost isn't going to go away to get it fixed. It's just going to continue to increase and increase over the time.
Did they end up escrowing, or is that still to be determined?
It's still to be determined.
Okay. So if they had, let's say that guy 12 years ago, if you had met him then and you had done the title work, would you have caught that at that time, or is that just kind of something that happened?
We definitely would have caught it at that time, and he decided to do this on his own to save a few dollars.
One of those guys.
Yeah, that's why we always recommend find those real estate agents, find the loan officers, find the title company who's going to do all of that research and avoid that costly error, which is now going to probably cost somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 to fix.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes, I am very knowledgeable, but I don't do, like, for example, my own taxes. And even though I might be able to figure my way through it, I respect the professional knowledge of other people. I do lots of things, but I don't do everything. And I recognize when there's a greater knowledge base than mine, and I need to consult people for that. And just another kind of interesting title story. I helped a couple do a refinance at one point. This was years ago. And during the title, they had bought, or previously they had bought from a FSBO who did the deed. And the deed, they had, when they typed it up and recorded it, it was like the 5 feet of the north feet or whatever, but it should have been the 7 feet. So there was 2 feet that was a strip that was like in no man's land that wasn't transferred. And then I had to go seek the permission and another deed, correct the old deed from a guy, 10 years later. And the guy was, I'm going to say, he kind of extortive in the sense that he wanted something for it. And I said, well, first off, I don't have any skin in the game. It's not myself, but you represented that you gave a deed to the client and you didn't give it correctly, and you might have some liability. So I'm here to fix your problem. Sign the deed and I'll get it to the title company and we can record it and we can go forward. Otherwise, the buyer can't refinance their home and you're probably going to get sued. So it's up to you how you want to play it. But he tried to extract some money, and then after he realized that wasn't maybe the best thing to do, he agreed to sign the deed and fix his problem. But just another example of people trying to do stuff themselves, and then sometimes they think they got away with it, or not, I shouldn't say got away with it, but they think they solved the problem by saving some money, only to find out later they created a bigger problem because they didn't know what they didn't know. No.
That's exactly it.
Now, if you had done that, if you had created that deed incorrectly as the title company, and you put down the 5 feet instead of the 7 feet, and then later that person was refinancing and they said, "Oh my goodness, I thought the title company had done it right," well, there would be recourse, correct? You would fix that problem.
Absolutely. As part of our title insurance, it is, as you know, part of our duty to do the job correctly. And if there happens to be an error, as we're all human, we would absolutely go back and make sure that that error got corrected, no matter what that would take, whether that be that individual agreeing to re-sign a deed to correct it, or it would involve a court scenario and having our attorneys have to address it.
Exactly. So again, a few $100s up front to have you do your job correctly and make sure everything is done, rather than trying to do it yourself and end up creating bigger problems. Now, can you tell us a little bit about what title insurance is and how long it lasts for and who it's for? Because I know there's a couple of kinds out there. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are two types. It's an owner's policy or a lender's insurance policy. So at the time of a purchase, you have an opportunity within the first 30 days of your purchase to purchase that owner's policy. Typically within our underwriters, who is the larger insuring portion, charges approximately $3.25 per thousand to obtain an owner's policy. It's a one-time fee for the life of the time that you own the property. And again, you only have that short window of time to purchase that. What that's going to do is it's going to protect you as the owner of the property against any prior unknown title defects. So we do that 30-year search. What happens if it goes past that 30 years? What happens if there's an unknown item? Title didn't get transferred properly with an ex-husband, or there was an heir to a property that made himself, came about after the fact. They weren't known. There was an unknown son from somebody, it could be any different things. That protects them as the current owners of the property for us to go back and fight that legally to maintain their ownership and rights. And again, we take care of all of those items. A lender's policy is only when you have a loan. So the lender is going to require a new policy each and every time that you would take out a new mortgage on that home. And it ensures that lender that they are in first lien position. So when we do the searches, we verify that all of the current mortgages are either paid or subordinated to be underneath and not that first priority loan.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's great. And then as a closer, one of the things that you order or you do is you order payoffs, you do searches. So not only at the county, but like you find out about water bills and other liens that might be out there. Can you go into like that procedure? Like let's say somebody, they're refinancing their home and you're doing your search. What kind of searches do you do besides, just who owned the chain of title?
So in addition to the county abstracting, we also pull a city assessment search to verify that there are no outstanding property assessments, whether they be through the city. So they give you street assessments. They don't maintain and keep care of their property. The city sometimes comes in and does their lawn care, or takes care of a tree that's endangering other properties and they have to remove that. We also do a simple property plat drawing. So it's not a legal survey, but it gives the guidelines of where the property is located and to make sure that there are no structures that are encroaching on that property, other people's fences, other people's garage. We've had, small scenarios with that, making sure the driveways are located in the right place. And that protects the people against, other people saying that they own portions of that property, as well as mechanic lien searches, tax searches. So the state and or IRS, making sure that nobody can claim any amounts due on that property when you purchase it, and make sure that it transfers clearly. You're not going to be responsible for the seller's debt.
Okay, so that's a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't really realize, that you've done all of those searches, and so that when it's not just the transfer of who owned it, but anybody else that could have an interest in that property or restrict a transfer, and that's all being insured by title insurance because you're checking.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of peace of mind there. So it's not something you just want to buy a property from somebody and get a quitclaim deed and go down and record it, because you might be missing all of the stuff that you just went through.
And I've also seen scenarios where, while I'm buying it from my grandmother and There's been no title issues. There's, so we don't need that owner's policy, which is not always the scenario either. I also had a scenario about 5 years ago. The current owners of the property had purchased it. I think they were like the third or fourth owner of the property. And our examiner actually caught a typographical error, just as you mentioned, within the meets and bounds legal description, which was close to a page long, and had mistyped that number of how many feet. 50 years old.
Wow.
They ended up having to go back a little bit further, but they caught that error. They had not had an owner's policy, so they ended up having to do that legal proceeding with a quiet title, upwards of $12,000 to get
Wow.
their legal description corrected, just because of the length of the time, the multiple owners, the multiple errors, and everybody in the process that it had to take. So yeah, there's a lot of things behind the scenes, and it doesn't always matter if it's going from family member to family member. It could be before that family member owned it as well.
Interesting. Wow, that's a good story. Now, once somebody gets, let's say, title is clear, and your company has agreed to go ahead and issue the insurance, and then they actually go to a closing, to buy this property or to refinance it. What takes place at a closing, and then what happens after closing?
That's the easy part. So at that point, hopefully we've got all of our documents prepared. We've received any documents we need from the lender and the seller side as well. They are notified of a convenient time and location to meet with me as their closer. We sit down and we go through each and every document with explanation, verifying that they understand the fees, their interest rates, the terms, any other documentation that we need to do. I help locate where they need to sign and notarize those documents. From there, as a purchase, we're going to let them know how to obtain those keys to their property and wish them congratulations in obtaining their new home. As then after the closing is when we take care of all of the recording and additional items that need to make sure that we secure all of their interest at the county.
Awesome. Now, what if somebody sneaks in between, let's say, files a lien between now and recording, right after the closing, and somebody tries to, get me, if you will?
Right.
What happens then?
So all of our searches have to be within 60 days. But unfortunately, like you say, we do record after closing. So there's what's called a gap period in the state of Minnesota. We also insure through that gap. But
Right.
it is part of the closer's responsibility. We verify the effective date of our commitment to make sure it's as current as possible on the date of our closing to avoid any of those unknowns. But we also ask if through closing documentation on an affidavit that, are you aware, have you been notified of any upcoming issues that could arise that somebody wants to collect monies from you in regards to prior work done on a home, something that could be attached as regards to a mechanic's lien.
Okay.
So to try to protect, obviously, ourselves as well as the buyers.
Sure. What about, let's say an investor is watching this today and they're like, well, I'm chasing scratch and dent and distressed situations, and the person that I would like to buy my home from or buy my investment property from says that they're the owner, says that they have clear title, says that they don't have any liens, and I don't want to give them any money or enter into a contract with them until I know. Is it possible to get preliminary title from you? And if so, how much would that cost? So, and then I assume that they would contact you directly if they're not working through an agent like myself. How would that, what's involved in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple different ways I can do that. As an independent closer, I can request what we call an orbit search. So it's basic, just super simple search on the property to make sure that there are no outstanding mortgages. Those fees are typically pretty cheap, and we can handle that somewhere between $20, $50. If we want to get a little bit more extensive in that, we can do a basic E&O search. That's a more thorough search within the abstracting and the names and tax liens. And that's typically around $125 to $150 that they would pay up front. We would provide those searches, and then at least just that preliminary search.
So give me a peace of mind. I'm dealing with the right people, and what problems I might have in front of me. I may need to seek an attorney's advice on clearing it or whatever, but at least I have a clear picture, because I might not be getting the full picture either by intention or accidental omission, on the.
More than likely accidental, but absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, this is kind of a strange question that just came to my mind, but I drive around in my car and I listen to the radio and I hear Bill O'Reilly talk about title and title theft and things like that. Is that a real deal, or is that kind of scammy? And can you shed any light on title lock, or not necessarily that company, but on that whole concept of protecting your title and somebody becoming you and stealing your equity?
So can somebody do that? Absolutely, they can. But again, as long as you're using that title company, your title lock is not necessary at all. Somebody, especially you're living at the home, you've got renters living in your property. Those people can't just file a quit claim deed and say that they own the property and try to knock on your door and move in. If they had filed the property or a deed at the county, whether that be fraudulent or not, when we do our title search, we're going to see there's some miscellaneous deed out there. What is this and why? So the title lock, is it important? It is, but I don't think that additional fee is necessary. I believe that's more of a scam opportunity for somebody to try to step in and do those items for you that title is going to take care of right at your closing.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of what my feeling was too. And with regards to that, you don't even, I mean, let's say somebody came in and wanted to refinance a mortgage or whatever to pull the equity out if they had fraudulently transferred title. You're going to see that on the title chain that something looks different. And then you're also going to verify with a driver's license or passport or some form of credible ID. So it can't be a random person saying that there's somebody else going in and pulling out equity, because you'll check that. And what if they went to let's say a criminal title, or not another title company? I mean, another title company that maybe didn't check to the same degree. What's the liability on that, or is there any?
So at one point, if there was ever a fraudulent deed, that's covered within your insurance as well. So, ideally that doesn't happen. We have had renters where I've seen the fact that they have been upset the fact that they're going to have to move out because the owner of the property is selling the property and they filed those fraudulent deeds. It goes to court. It does hold up a process for quite a long time, but we ultimately catch that, and that's why we, as Title Smart employees, require a valid ID every single time that you sit down and sign. We are required to view that document, make sure it's current. We're going to double check that picture, make sure it's the same person. Minnesota, we've got common names. Michael Johnson, for example. You don't want to get, the fake ID of Michael Johnson and come in. You're like, yeah, that doesn't look like him. We're going to look a little bit further into it, make sure that that's the right person.
Perfect. Anything else, Casey, that you can think of that a buyer or seller might like to know about title insurance, Title Smart, yourself, or any or all of the above?
I think we touched base on the majority of it, but the do-it-yourselfers in any project is not necessarily going to save you any time nor money. It is important to reach out to the people who are professionals who have experience in all of these factors. And by saving $100, $200, whatever that cost may be, the long-term peace of mind that something is done correctly, the legal descriptions are done properly, the names have all been typed correctly, and we are responsible for anything. If not, it should be just a factor all in itself for you to make sure that you're reaching out to that professional, making sure the job is done correct.
Wonderful. Well, some people watching this, I hope everybody wants to do business with me, but some people may have other relationships and may have other people that they're working with, but I would like them to at least have a conversation with you regarding their title. So how can people reach out directly to you to get in contact going forward?
Couple of easiest ways is one, obviously always pick up that phone call, in and out of closings, but we have voicemail here. I've got assistants in my location as well who can help answer questions, but that number is 651-464-0746. That is the Forest Lake Title Smart office. I guess a good point to bring out is, even though my desk is located in Forest Lake, Minnesota, we do work throughout the entire state of Minnesota, as well as into portions of Wisconsin. So licensed in both Wisconsin and Minnesota, and happy to help and travel to any of those locations to make it convenient for our clients. Always is simple is email. So that would be my first name, CASI @title-smart.com. So Casey @title-smart.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Casey. And just the last thing I wanted to mention is that my office is in Edina. I work the entire metro, and Casey, they have Title Smart has offices everywhere. So Casey travels. It doesn't matter that we were geographically maybe 45 minutes apart. She comes to the other closing offices and can accommodate my clients. She's not that I want to endorse her working on evenings and weekends, but she has, for certain situations, there's a slight extra charge for that. But for her to go work, I'm going to say beyond normal office hours, that may or may not be something she continues, but that just gives you an indication of the level of service that she's provided to my clients. And she's worked throughout the whole state. So I've had clients that have owned properties, cabins and things like that, that are 3-4 hours away, and she's able to access all of that title work, and the closing can be down here and recorded up there. So you don't have to have the work done 3 hours away. It can be done right here, and it can be accommodated with their company. So I just wanted to let you know that she is full service throughout the state, and she'll tell you if she's not. I mean, if something she can't do, she'll tell you that too.
If I can't do it, I can probably find somebody who can help us out to get it done. So
that's awesome. Casey, I appreciate your time today and sharing all your information. And everybody give Casey a call. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Okay, bye.